Fishing.
Welcome to the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. We'll be sitting down with a fresh guest each week. Someone who shares the same kayak fishing passion that runs through our veins. We're talking kayak anglers, kayak companies, lure experts. Heck, anyone who's got a story to tell about landing the big ones from a kayak. We're setting our sights on becoming the #1 kayak fishing podcast in the world. You'll get a chuckle, a grin, and hey, maybe even a belly laugh. Because we believe in the power of humor. But above all, we're here to educate and inspire. So, whether you're a seasoned kayak angler or just dipping your toes into this exhilarating world, join us on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. It's time to reel in adventure, camaraderie, and the joy of the catch. Here's your host, Darren Wendell.
What's up, you fishing freaks? Welcome to episode number 121 of the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast, your ultimate source for all things kayak fishing. Seth, tonight's going to be a good one. We are talking cold water bass fishing with Gene Jensen. You may better know him as the Flukemaster. But before we get there, I want to thank the sponsor of the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast, Dark Horse Tackle. So if you want to love and show some support to the podcast, go check out darkhorsetackle.com. I'm looking forward to the box I'm getting tomorrow, and we'll start doing our weekly lure spotlights. So we'll get that in a little bit. Also, special thanks to a few new channel members, right? Nate McPherson, Buckmeyer, Leanne Fox. You guys are all freaking awesome. Thank you so much for your support, becoming a channel member, keeping the dream alive. And last announcement is a few exciting updates, Seth. The Kayak Fishing Freaks Facebook page just hit 50,000 members. So if you haven't checked that out and you're on Facebook, check out Kayak Fishing Freaks. Join that party. It's almost at 51,000. So pretty awesome.
A lot of weird people.
A lot of weird, a lot of freaks. Just a lot of freaks. Speaking of freaks, Gene Jensen, welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Super freak. Super freaky.
What's up?
Not much, man. Not much. I see that you're on your phone. Well, what happened there, boss?
Oh, you already know. No, well, when I was pre-fishing for Susky, I had to modify my Torpedo where the steering cables connect The little wing was bending, so I had to bring him into the middle. Well, I got up, I portaged up over some shoals, got to the other shoals, jumped in the kayak, and hit the torpedo, and that motor spun directly to the right and spun me around, still somewhat in rough water, flipped my kayak over, and my dry bag went in the water. No big deal. Well, I peeled my dry bag out of the water after getting the kayak back upright, and it was completely full of water. So I lost my Sony. I lost one of my DJIs. And luckily the microphones fared fairly well. Another one of my DJIs. So I just had to replace one DJI, and I currently don't have the money to replace that $1,000 Sony. So it's that's
that was $1,000 dip.
Yeah, I use that for my podcast. I use that's my everything camera, because it's just such a good camera. So I'm just going to wait till I save up the money for the upgrade and go ahead and get the upgrade. So part of the business.
It's like 20 videos you got to put out there just to recoup that $1,000.
Why do you think he's on the podcast tonight, Darren?
I know, right? It's like, oh my gosh, got to grind. Go on freaking Wendell's podcast. Get that Sony.
Exactly.
Seth, how you been? Like last week we had the cheater scandal, and so we really didn't get into anything. We were just off the KBF Nationals tournament. Didn't even talk about that at all. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit because I was fishing against Gene. But Seth, we haven't talked in a couple of weeks. How you been? Any tournament winnings recently?
No, actually, this is kind of my off season a little bit. We have the Florida events, like the Bass Nations started up last month. So we have a few events this month, but I'm not fishing those. It's like middle of kids soccer season. It's like early. It's a weird time of year for bass fishing in Florida. They're not pre-spawn quite yet. So they're moving weird. So we're getting cold fronts. It's not a great time to pattern. If you watch like the Okeechobee Bassmaster Opens this past weekend, that's kind of indicative to like what Florida is right now. They're like scattered. They're in deep water. You can scope them. But anyway, it's kind of my off season. So kind of trying to save up some days and a lot of goodwill with my wife and family for next year in the Bassmaster Kayak Series. So I'm like, we'll take it easy
in there.
Take it easy on the local stuff for now. And then when January hits, we'll be going hard. So yeah, it's kind of
that's my least favorite time of the year to fish down there. I mean, to me it's harder to fish right now down in Florida than in the heat of the summer. I just have a hard time finding them because they just scatter so much.
Yeah, so I agree. So yeah, we've just been a lot of kids, a lot of sports, a lot of family stuff, and we'll get back at fishing here pretty soon. Did catch a 4-pounder in my pond behind my house yesterday.
That pond is loaded. Gene, if you ever go down to Florida, go to Seth's pond. Every big fish he catches, he goes and stocks his.
I do. I bring him home. I put him in a cooler and I bring him home and put him in my pond.
That's what
you
John
get
Cox
net double digits in his pond.
John Cox, he would sit there and hand feed bluegill to these 10 and 12 pounders that were back in the back of his.
They're so hard to catch. They're so hard to catch. I have so many bluegill. I put like thousands of golden shiners in there, little tilapia. Like there's so much bait fish that. Like, it's difficult to catch the fish. They're in there, but it's hard to catch them.
Yep,
it's not even your pond.
Well, it's HOA.
Stocking it.
Yeah, I mean
that's Florida.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, you got to look at it this way. He's probably one of 3 people in that whole subdivision that fishes. So
there's a guy that catches my copper-nosed bluegills I put in there. He comes out with a little bobber, but I'm the only one that really bass fishes it. Me and my kids. So yeah.
Man,
load her up.
It is like a private.
I even scope in there. I go out there and practice scoping them. No joke.
Love it.
I love it. So, Gene, we're just off the KBF Nationals, and I know you've been pretty heavy into the tournament scene the last few years. Something I'm kind of dipping my toe into, but man, I feel like a philanthropist whenever I go tournament fish. It's just all money out and zero money in. That's, I know we had a brief. No, what were you saying?
I said that's been my thought over the last few years. That's why I only fished the ones that I really wanted to fish this year, and I didn't fish all of them. So,
because you went hardcore like 1 year, didn't you? Is there a story behind that? What was the impetus behind?
I just wanted to see where I was. It was all personal. It wasn't to go out and try to prove myself to everybody else, which is something that happened. But to me, I just wanted to prove to myself and see how good I'd gotten against some of the best anglers in the country.
What was the end result?
What happened?
That blue trophy that's over my shoulder. Couple
There it
other
is.
Things. Yep.
Seth has been very close twice to one of those blue trophies over your shoulder.
Hold on. And then all those checks.
Oh, damn.
Trophy right there. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool just to see, all these years of doing YouTube and teaching people and learning myself. I just wanted to see how good I'd gotten, and so that's why I kind of took it. I can't say took it easy this year, but only fished the ones that Michael and Damon were able to talk me into fishing. So,
all right. And tournament fishing into the future, because that was with me. Like I did the KAS this past summer, and it was right after I just became a full-time content creator. And so before then, I would do tournaments, like, oh, let's have some fun. Oh, great. Out of 50 anglers, I'm top 25, lower top 25. Fantastic. Kind of move on to your day. It all changed whenever it became a full-time content creator, because now it's like, oh crap, this is my livelihood. And when I miss a fish, I'm actually really pissed now. A lot more pissed than I was before, when it was just kind of fun money and I had, safe money to go make. So Seth, what are you over there hugging? So here,
two of three of us are similar. There's one person that's not like the others here, Darren.
Not like the other. To be fair, I've never fished one, so
that's
we'll
true.
See.
You can't win one if you're not fishing them.
I can't. Right. I haven't tried it yet. We'll see. Maybe someday. But my point is, man, it's just like that's a lot of expense that you don't think about to go fish these tournaments. Now,
yeah, you're not going to make money doing it. I'm telling you right now, in the kayak industry, you are not going to make money doing it unless you have no other adult responsibilities. I mean, really, it's just if you do it for fun, you do it, like I said, to prove to yourself what you're doing. With TKS, with Team Kayak Series, I see a bunch of guys do it as friends and as family. Husband or dad and daughter, dad and son, couple of brothers, college kids. They come and fish the TKS together and they love it. But they don't do it because you're not going to break even. That's for sure.
And you're coming down to Florida this year, I think.
Yes, we're going to come down to the Harris Chain end of February, early March, I think.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't pick the worst times of the year, bro. I mean, I use all this knowledge in this giant melon of mine to pick the best times of the year to go to these lakes.
I told Darren he needs to come down late February, March to Florida, because you can just get on giants. Yep. You can pull up to them. They're on beds. You'll see 8-9 pounders sitting up. You'll catch giants on the Harris Chain. So many canals that they pull up on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Last day of February, first day of March. So the 28th and the 1st.
Yeah. Perfect. My wife's birthday. Awesome.
Now, for those who may not know what TKS is, Gian, give you an opportunity to share your 1 year in finishing it, and you're getting ready to send another.
Yep, it's a team kayak series. It's a national trail, mostly in the southeast at this point in time. We have one going up to New York. What lake are we going to in New York? I can't remember. Dadgummit, my brain just died. But anyway, basically what it is, it's a 2-day team tournament, two-man teams. The gist of it is we use mostly Bassmaster rules with some adjustments for team stuff, so you can communicate between team members while you're fishing. You can, it's a team, so you guys are trying to catch 10 fish, whether it's 10 fish the first day or 10 fish the second day, or 5 fish divided throughout the whole 2-day period. You've got 2 days to catch 10 fish. So if one of you bomb, the other one does great, you're fine. So on and so forth. So it's really cool. We just have a lot of fun. It's just a blast. Captain's meetings are mandatory. We go in, and my captain's meetings are really, really short. We go in, we check the boards, we do what we're supposed to do. I can give you about a 10 or 12 or 15 minute spiel, and then kick your butt out and tell you to go fishing. and it's great. Entry fees, I guess I can go ahead and say it because we pretty much make the decision. The entry fees this year are going to be $300 a team or $150 a person. And it's going to be through Tourney X. And it was $100 last year, and we bumped it up a little bit to so the payouts can increase because it's 100% payout. There was one other thing that went through my head and went right back out the other side. The cool thing about it is that it just gives you opportunity to get to know, to make a friend. You don't have to have a team member to enter the tournament. We'll pair you up with somebody else that doesn't have a team member. Stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's in Cayuga.
Cayuga, there you go.
Yep. Yep.
Well, awesome.
And so
now
it's going to be a fun year.
TeamKayakSeries.com or TKS.com?
TeamKayakSeries.com.
There you go. June 13th and 14th.
Yeah. Team kayak or team events are pretty cool. Different dynamic. A lot of fun. Being able
I think I enjoy them.
Spots and stuff. I enjoyed that.
Well, I enjoy them
more so.
Fishing buddy tournaments, pot tournaments on Wednesday nights and Tuesday nights and Thursday nights and Friday nights, depending on what lake I was on. And I really enjoyed those. I really enjoyed the camaraderie, the trash talk, the whatever. I mean, it was just always a lot of fun. And I'm not doing this to make money. Matter of fact, we barely broke. We made enough money this year to be able to pay for the banner or for the backdrop and the table cover, the tablecloth for next year is how much money me and Michael made.
Dang.
So because a lot of that money went to pay team of the year, and the money that we made went back to the guys. I can only guarantee 100%, but on the championship, we try to pull whatever money we can and put it towards whatever we can towards the winnings. We upped the winnings a little bit and gave some to the team, and of course paid our camera girl Emily. So,
Gene, that's a lot of time and effort and heartache for a near washout. So, like labor of love, is that what you're looking at here?
Yeah, dude. I just want people to have fun. I want to bring back the brotherhood that we always had, and kind of force people to work together and to have fun doing it. So, and to tell you the truth, the teams that were the most successful this year were the ones that worked together the most. They were the ones that were in constant contact with each other on the water, off the water, during the tournament, during pre-fishing. They were the ones and they shared everything with each other. And they were the ones that were the most successful. So that's how you're going to win these tournaments is working together with the other person.
All right. What are some unique strategies that you've seen? Is it like, are people have like walkie talkies? Are they using their phones, or
no?
Are they
fishing
close by? Or are they different places?
So there was one time where Jody and Abby on Kentucky Lake, they were 20, 30 miles away from each other the first day. And then the next day they were fishing the same area, and they ended up, I think they ended up winning that one, and then there was one where Paris and Russ Snyder's fished boat ramps apart, and the wind was going to be so bad that Russ wasn't going to be able to get back to his truck because of the direction he went. So he just went to Paris, and Paris took him back to his truck, and he, working together, he took him back to his truck. He got his truck, came back around and got his kayak. And they just, and they ended up finishing, I don't know if they won that one or finished second. It was first or second on that one. It was the Guntersville tournament.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's our championship this next year is going to be on Guntersville in October.
All right.
Or November. It's either October or November, but yeah.
I just need to stay down there the entire month of October. Steven Sturgeon's got a question for you. How many TKS events do you have to fish to be overall team winner?
You have to fish in 4 events. 4 of this. I think we have 5 or 6 this year. To qualify for the championship, you have to. This is tentative, so I can't tell you for sure, but it's going to be the top 50% of the field per tournament, and then and I think that's it. We haven't decided yet, but it's going to be different than what it was last year. This last year, we were required to fish in 3 different events to be in the championship. I think we're going to change that a little bit so we can have a little bit bigger championship. You're still going to have to earn it. I'm not going to give away a spot in the championship. You still got to do something to earn it. So.
Sure, 100%. Speaking of championships, you and I are fishing the KBF Nationals. How did that go for you? Your thoughts on the tournament, the lake, how the lake produced during this time of the year, all that stuff.
So the tournament, first of all, because everybody qualified for the last day, I wish he hadn't zeroed out to the last day. It was in my advantage because I pre-fished those first 2 days. I didn't care. I wasn't fishing the other championship, the challenge championship. So I just pre-fished for 2 more days, and it helped me to find good fish. And I caught 220s on that Friday. I ended up 6th on Friday, or on the actual day of the tournament, the last day of the tournament. But I wished I would have had to focus the other 2 days because I enjoy that. That was my biggest complaint, is I wish he wouldn't have zeroed it out. But he did. So, you do what you do. And then it was fun, though. Great tournament. It was, everybody was out throwing chatterbaits on grass flats and things like that. And
100%.
I wasn't. Not even 1%. I was skipping docks all day long with a big giant brown jig. And catching very few, but they were the right ones.
Yeah.
And
you left me one, by the way.
Yep.
I wanted to thank you. You left me a 20-incher on the on that line you went through. You might have picked up a few, but I went through an hour later. I'm like, I want to see if Fluke left me one. So I was skipping Senkos.
Yeah, what was awesome about the docks? What was awesome about the docks is they were reloading all day long. So on the Saturday, on that benefit tournament that we did on Saturday, me and Justin were fishing the same 15 docks all day, just rotating through, both of us, and both of us were catching fish. And I ended up 2nd in that tournament.
I know what docks you're rotating on, so those are juicy.
But they were in less than 2 feet of water. I caught now on the championship day. I caught my 2 big ones on docks that were different, that were deeper, and had open water out in front of them. But that only was a morning bite, and then once the sun got up, I had to move over to the really, really shallow ones, and they would literally just reload all day long. It was cool.
Bart Foster over here. I caught a bunch of dinks at Gunnersville, and so I was there. I had a hard time finding them. I feel like it's just my feeling. I pre-fished for like 4 days. I didn't find them till the 4th day. And it was almost like either you're in a spot that was holding them. It was like feast or famine. They weren't like scattered and everyone's kind of picking them up. On the championship day, I think the bottom 30 places either skunked or only caught 1. And so there were some dead spots.
This is something we're going to talk about a little bit later when we start talking about cold weather. But I want to talk about the shad migration and what was going on in Gunnersville, especially for those of you who were there. So I got there a week. I went over there a week or so early. It's only an hour and 20 minutes from my house. So I went over there a week or so early just and fished a day and then went back home. But my goal for that day was to find where the shad were in a major creek arm. So I went up the creek arm, and the shad were just barely out of the mouth, but not to the middle of the creek, not to the middle third. So you divide a creek up into thirds: first third, second third, back third. And so they were almost to the middle third, but not quite. The majority of the shad out in deep water, where you could see schools and schools and schools of them. Yep. But the bass were behind them. They weren't. It was hard to catch them if you had lots of shad around you. If you got back to where they started to disappear on your fish finder and then went up into a grass flat or up into a hump that had grass, they were there. Fast forward a week, and the shad had moved to that middle third, and we're almost heading back towards the back third, and the bass again weren't in the middle of the shad. They were the bigger ones were behind the major shad migration, but not by much. And so I went and I found that major shad migration, and then backed up a couple 100 yards and went to the bank and started fishing grass, and I started catching them along those docks and everything that were along that grass. So if I moved up in the front of the shad migration, they were all dinks. They're all small fish up on the flats and things like that, the back flats and everything else. There was an occasional big one, but the majority of them were fairly small. So I stayed kept my concentration barely behind the shad migration.
There you go, folks. If you're wondering what in the world was going on, I mean, you were down there fishing the KBF Nationals, or if you watch some of the videos that are probably going live here, you can kind of pair that with what Gene just said. But I was catching them on the chatterbait in a flat. I mean, I had my chance to get in 94 inches on National Day. I got 89.5. I missed one that could have got me to 94. I couldn't call up my 16.5. And man, I feel like the place where I was fishing, and Gene, I think you know where I was fishing, got beat the crap up. I think I mean, for days, four or 5 days of pre-fishing, and some guys are on these holes and they were just hammer. Some of the guys out of the place I was fishing were 90s 3 days in a row, just catching freaking everything. So it was a little tough to come in on the fourth day after all those sore lips and find a few that were still willing to bite. Found a few, came up short, had my chances, but it was a good time.
Yep. I mean, a couple of those guys had found, actually one in particular, had found a deeper grass flat that was just off the creek channel that had very, very live grass. The grass hadn't started dying off yet. So if you pay attention to Gunnersville in the spring, the first grass to grow is always the eelgrass. And then the hydrilla starts to peak up, but it doesn't grow very fast. And the milfoil starts to peak up and it grows a lot faster. But that means in the fall, the last grass to die is the eelgrass. And so in this early spring and the late fall, the eelgrass is where the bass are going to be concentrated at the very end of the grass dying off. And the grass starts to die off about 65 degrees. And when it gets below 65, around at 63, and then down at below 60, it's all dying off pretty much. And so you just you're lucky if you find a spot like that. And his spot was special. I mean, he was catching 20 pluses all the time. You know, and it was pretty much near you.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. The biggest bass of the tournament was caught 200 feet from me, pitching 23.75.
Yep, that was it.
Hiding
That
in
was
the grass.
Spot.
Okay, I know where that's at. And so that was pretty special. The whole area is pretty special, but nonetheless, it was a lot of fun. So big bass was caught pitching a jig, pitching actually a punch rig, and a lot of donks. But Chad even mentioned that usually for a tournament like that, usually you get 75 bass that are over 20 inches, but we were at like 38, 40 over 20 inches. And so what would you say the reasoning for that is?
Because there's only 100 of us.
Okay. So you think that was typical for the number of anglers?
Yeah. There was only 100 of us.
40 or so, 20 plus.
Yeah, it wasn't 200 like there used to be.
Right on. Well, let's go ahead and transition here a little bit. Let's talk about tonight the cold water bass blueprint. It's going to look a little different for Seth. I'm like, hey, my water gets to 70 degrees. Then it is Gene. Then it is me. Right now, my water is like 42 freaking degrees. Icicles.
I told Darren, I'm like, Darren, you know I live in South Florida, right? Like, I don't know what I can contribute to you.
Hey, people are listening for all over. So, Seth, when you talk, it's going to you're speaking to like, I don't know, a bunch of different people. Gene, what's the water temp? And I think I know because I just fished it. I mean, it was 68 to 71, depending where you were. I'm imagining that dropped a degree or two since last week.
A little bit. We've had fairly stable weather with warm afternoons, but yeah, we're probably in the upper 50s. Low 60s in the middle of the day.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not too bad. Again, it's all about the shad migration and what the grass is doing. But on most lakes that have bait fish, the bait are going to move shallow. If it's a natural lake up north, the alewives and all the lakes all the little bait fish, but you guys are already past this stage. But 50s and into the 40s, they tend to move up shallow onto flats and things like that to feed, and they're following the plankton is all they're doing. They're following their food. And so you pay attention. That's when wind is more important than anything because wind pushes plankton. And so you're fishing, especially this time of the year,
fish.
wind blown points, wind blown banks, stuff like that. And the wind doesn't have to blow for super long to push that plankton. It can blow for a couple hours and you're going to be doing pretty darn good. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. I got a whole
Real
bunch
quick,
of
let me
notes
know
there,
in the
Chuck, but
comments if you're listening in, what is your water temperature and where do you live right now? So I'm curious. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear that. Keep going.
yeah.
Gene, I'm sorry I
So
interrupted you there.
no, so when the water temperature's in the low 60s into the mid 50s, so 50 to 60, and I'm just going to go off my notes so I don't miss anything. You want to focus on those shallow flats like we were doing at Gunnersville. They were just starting to move into those shallow grass flats really hard during that tournament. And that's why you did so well in there. And I had a really nice grass flat up at Dry Creek that I was fishing. That was a good. I could always catch a 19-incher there at least, but it'd take me hour or two to weed through the 16 and 17s to get that 19. Wind blown points, and then drains that feed into creeks. So you got the flat, and then you'll have a ditch or something, some type of drain or a ditch off of that flat or in that flat that runs out to the creek, and they'll be in there. They'll really school up in there. This one spot that I had my flat right up top, and then off of that flat and to the left was a point, or was a hump, a real shallow hump. But the saddle between that flat and that hump created a drain that went out to the creek, and they were in that pocket of that drain every single morning. I could go out there and just lay into them. Problem is tournament day, they were too small. I got sick and tired of catching 16s, and I was like, I'm out. They're not going to help me. I need to go hit my big fish spots. So, but my favorite baits are going to be a chatterbait in the grass. If I'm not on a grass lake, I'm gonna throw something like an underspin, or I lost my a square bill if it's a rocky area. I love to beat the crap a square bill to death off of rocks and stuff and see what happens.
Where'd you find rocks in Gunnersville? My gosh,
You don't.
I didn't see a single rock.
You just up against bluff walls where rocks have fallen off. Is
I
about
did
the only place
find a
to
few of
find them.
those.
Steep banks, things like that. You'll find rocks. That's about it. Other than that, it's just going to be grass and hard bottom, a lot of clay
So
bottom.
I went to Seabold, and I went out there on the main river channel, right where that bluff is. And there were probably 4 boats out there scoping, and one guy was there for 3 hours casting in the same spot against the bluff wall. Wouldn't move. Just kept on. Same thing. Same place. Literally the same 1 foot area. He kept dropping it in because he was, I guess, seeing them down there, trying to get him to commit. But yeah, that was like the only
scoping. That's what scoping's done to fishing. And I don't disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree with scoping one bit. I love to do it. But what it is doing, and what I think it's going to continue to do, the more people that scope, is that our shallow bite is going to get really, really good. Yeah, that bite that is so shallow they can't scope. And I've been fishing Gunnersville for 25 years or 20 years, and that was the best dock bite I've ever had.
Yeah, because prior to this, everyone would fish docks.
Yeah, everybody would fish docks.
It pulls out like at least half the people into the lake. And that's why, I feel like people, and I know we have to get into it, but people that are against scoping, it's making your fishing better. It's giving you more opportunity in the shallow areas. But yeah,
sure is. Put all them guys out in the middle of the lake staring at their grass. I do not care. On a grass lake, I'm gonna kick your butt shallow and just love every minute of it.
You know what? To think about it, for being a Friday, I know there's boat tournaments during the same time as the KBF. I'm surprised I maybe saw 1 boat back in the area that I was at, and it was accessible by boat. You're right. And I didn't see a single boat skipping docks.
Nope.
Not a single one. But when I would drive the causeways, I would look out to my left and right, and there'd be 7 or 8 boats all looking down.
Yep.
All right.
And that was a great bite.
Different perspective on it.
Well, on South Saudi, you could have, sat out in the creek channel all day long and caught all the fish you wanted to catch, and maybe a few of them would be 4 and 5 pounders. But you still got to weed through all the small ones unless you're so good that you know exactly what the length is of that fish before you cast at it.
Right.
So, yeah, for me, I just see the shallow bite getting so much better. It's been neat to watch.
That's kind of fun. I got a bunch of people giving us their temperature. So you got 10 killer with 67, 58 to 60 degrees here in the Ham, 47 Connecticut. Oh, that's Nate. Nate just purchased my LTE, by the way. Mid 40s in New Jersey. Marty Hughes, it's blade bait time here. I just pulled mine out as well. North Carolina, 58 to 60. 40s in South Central PA. Freaking cold in Hudson River, New York. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
The temperatures are all over the place, but a lot of people up here in the Northeast, so cold. Cold. All right. So let's keep on heading through this. Seth, you have something to add when it comes to winter, or at least your winter. Let us know, or some thoughts there. I know you do a lot of reading and you're well versed on that type of stuff. But Gene, Seth, why do you think cold water bass fishing intimidates so many anglers? I mean, I poll the community a lot, and I'm on the Kayak Fishing Freaks Facebook page. I got a few other Facebook pages, groups as well, and a lot of guys out there like, Darren, you got to help. I went out the last 3 times, got skunked, and it's intimidating for some people. I think it's intimidating not only for spending all that time and not catching any fish. I think for some people it's intimidating because of the safety aspect as well, and definitely something not you shouldn't be downplaying. Because I was out there a few days ago. I was like, oh, this is nice. It's like 65, 70 degrees, sunny out, but water temps are in the 40s, which is danger zone. And so, Gene, I'll send that question over to you. Why do you think cold water bass fishing intimidates so many anglers?
So if anglers in general, I'm going to say it's because Papa and Grandpa and Daddy always said that the bass stop eating when the water gets cold. Because Grandpa and Papa couldn't catch fish in the cold. That's their fault. That's not your fault. And so they say that they always stop eating. Well, my thought was always, then why in the heck are they so big and healthy and chunky come spring pre-spawn when you go out there and jack them and pre-spawn?
Mm-hmm.
They got to eat something. They don't need a lot, but they got to eat something. Now, as for a safety aspect, I agree 100%. I was on when I was back with Jackson, it was 2 years before I hit the water in the wintertime. I had to get the right gear. I had to really feel comfortable in the boats that I was getting. Now, I'm going to toot Bonafide's horn because they are absolutely, I feel so safe in my PWR. And I'll get out on the water as long as I have that good gear, the anti-exposure gear. That's what I use. I feel fine out there. I know not to do anything stupid, but I feel fine.
Right.
But my biggest thing is always wear your life jacket like you should, no matter what time of the year it is.
100%.
And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But then the other thing is just slow down. When the water gets super cold, back into the low 40s and into the high 30s before it freezes, the bass will literally pick up your bait and hold it in their mouth and not crunch it, not try to kill it, just hold it in their mouth for an infinite amount of time until they feel like they are ready to swallow it. And it may be, I tested this back when I used to guide on the number one, or on a private lake. I used to guide out in North Carolina, and they would literally hold that worm in their mouth for as long as 15 minutes. And not move or not anything else, just hold it in their mouth until they were ready, felt like they were ready to eat it. And you just feel another little crunch or a little thunk, and then they take it deep.
You'd watch them. You see them just mouth it.
I just feel them. So that was a special lake. It was stocked full of 4 to 8 pound largemouth that were all trained to go to the fat bass feeders and eat fish food every day.
Oh my gosh!
And it had 50 feeders that on a 250 acre lake had 50 feeders that fed twice a day, and so I could go out and catch 50 to 150 4+ pounders a day.
Oh gosh!
And that's
stupid.
And so I could experiment a lot, and I learned a lot about migration and a lot about other stuff. I used it to my advantage, not just to go out and jack them and look like I was a hero, but used it to my advantage to learn. Another thing that I learned was they stopped feeding heavy at 53 degrees. If the water dropped below 53 degrees, that's when their metabolism started to slow down, and that's when they stopped feeding heavy. So we, every time a feeder go off, it'd be a big, huge, schooling action. At 53 and below, that stopped. or slowed down immensely, and it was an obvious change. So that water temperature, when it gets below 53, that's when you start to wanting to really fish a little bit slower and take your time working an area out.
I like it. So real quick about your one, you said you're going to talk a little bit more about PFDs. I'll give you a chance to do that. Before you talk about that, talk about your anti-exposure gear, because a lot of guys are going out there without it, probably a little overconfident, not realizing how cold 44 degrees is if you go in and you're wearing cotton, and even though you have a motor and all these things, it's more dangerous than you think. And so do you have like Cocatat, I think it's what it's called, or what type of anti-exposure gear do you have?
I've got some
what
NRS,
does it do?
I've got
some
NRS stuff that I've had for a while, and it's a pair of bibs that has a very, very tight neoprene elastic strap that goes around your waist, and it's about this thick, and it keeps the water from going down into the bibs if you were ever to fall in.
Right.
And so, and then the top has an elastic strap that straps down here for the same reason. So I'm going to get water down my neck, but I'm not going to get it down in my legs, so I can easily, self-rescue and get back up into the kayak. And then, so it's not going to keep me 100% dry, but it's going to keep me dry enough to keep me somewhat warm. So then if I get too cold, if I start to get too cold, I still have time to get my butt back to my truck or wherever. Number two is, once the water temperature does get into the 50s, I put a change of clothes in a dry bag somewhere in my.
You keep it on your kayak or in your truck?
No, on my kayak. It's
100%.
got it's got a thick. I think of it this way: if I'm super cold and I've got to get out of my clothes and get into dry ones, I'm not in a good state. So it's a pair of sweatpants, a real thick pair of sweatpants, and it's a sweatshirt. And then there is a towel, a microfiber towel, a big one, and then something to start a fire with. And nothing. I've got a spark or anything else. None of this crazy wilderness survival bull crap. It's a cigarette lighter and a pair of waterproof matches, or set of waterproof matches, and that cigarette lighter is going to work 99% of the time because I've kept it dry. So, have you ever had to utilize any of that stuff? No, but I did have to utilize. I was in my big boat one time, and I had an emergency tarp, a little 10x10 emergency tarp in my thing, and I had a huge thunderstorm pop up right at the end of the day, and I had to get off my boat and make a shelter before I got destroyed. And so that was the only time I've ever had to do that. But no, I've never had to use any of that. So, but I always have it.
Sometimes it's good to have that just on your vessel in case someone else needs it who maybe is unprepared. And so get a lot of those scenarios as well. Your PFD, you wanted to make mention of something. So
one thing I want, you and Chad are doing this great thing with what's it called?
K-Fast.
Yeah, K-Fast. And so many of us have always talked for years about how a PFD is similar to a seatbelt. And I want to get away from that analogy. I want to start as a community, start comparing PFDs to parachutes. Because the death rate's about the same. 93% of all kayak deaths or kayak related deaths involve somebody who's not wearing a life jacket. And so if we stop saying it's like wearing a seatbelt and start saying it's like wearing a parachute, hopefully people will start understanding how serious it is. You're on a hang 100%. Glider. You're not gonna have a parachute on if you're sitting there on a hang glider that could fail any minute. I don't know, but it's just one of those things. Well, in a kayak, and I've fallen out enough times to understand that a kayak can get away from you really quickly. Especially with motors. But the biggest thing is if you haven't done it this year, you need to do it as soon as the water warms up for you, warm enough for you to swim. You need to practice getting your sorry butt in and out of that kayak. So you jump out and you climb back in, and you jump out and you practice climbing back into your kayak. And there's a technique to it, but and get to where it is second nature to you. And that skill alone will save your life. Luckily for me, I learned it back when I was a teenager as a Boy Scout, and I used to teach the canoeing merit badge. There's nothing harder to do than to self-rescue in a canoe without flipping it
In
over.
a canoe.
Oh, it is so hard. And if you can do it in a
I
canoe,
bet.
you can definitely do it in one of our kayaks. And
Mhm.
so, but yeah, and it's just one of those things that we just need to keep harping. And I understand the don't share, the pictures if somebody didn't have a life jacket on. I'm one that's going to go up to you if you're on my body of water and you don't have your life jacket on. I don't care if you're sitting on it, if it's sitting behind you. I'm going to be the one that goes up to you, and I'm not going to be afraid to say, "Hey, put your life jacket on," because I don't feel like saving your life today.
Yeah.
And
that's part of it. If you guys head over to the nowhereNoShare.com and look at that pledge, it's not just about not sharing someone else's content. It's about proactively, just what Gene said, entering into conversations that are positive, don't get in arguments, but making it the norm, right? And it's going to take conversations like that. And I had a guy come up to me at the KBF Nationals after we were talking about K-Fast. I don't know if I shared this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago or not. I don't think so. But he came up to me and was like, I wouldn't be having a conversation with you right now if it wasn't for my PFD. And he essentially told me felt like just something like shocked his heart while I was out fishing. No clue what it was. Doctor said it wasn't a heart attack after the fact. But he woke up and he was floating in the water. And his kayak was over here, turtled over. And he's like, I know for a fact, if I wasn't wearing my PFD, if my head wasn't above water, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. And he's in tears. And so it's not, the whole, I can swim, has nothing to do with that. It's when you don't, when you can't swim. All right, let's move away from that. But before you do so, head over to nowhereNoShare.com, sign that pledge, read it, and let's make kayak fishing safer. Because as I said at the KBF in front of all the guys, the sport has grown and outpaced the safety training that comes along with it. And unfortunately, we're hearing in the news on a regular basis the end result of that. And it's unfortunate. And the ripple effect goes on for generations. All right. Switching gears on Eugene. So you kind of answered some of this when it comes to cold water fishing, but what is happening to the bass metabolism as water temps plummet? And what's the biggest misconception anglers have about bass in the winter? Now, we kind of touched on it, but if you have any different angles you like to approach, you're like, hell yeah, that kind of triggered this thought. I'd love for you to share that.
So their metabolism does slow down. They don't move as fast or anything else. But the thing is, if they eat too much, it will rot in their stomach and kill them. And they'll basically go septic and it'll kill them. And so but they still have to eat. They just don't eat as much and as often. And so they're going to try to find the biggest ones are still going to be eating the bigger baits. They're gonna try to find the easiest meal that they can find that they don't have to move very much. They're gonna move out when the water temperature gets into the 40s. They're gonna move out of along the creek channels. They're gonna move out to steeper banks and drops and kind of ledge fishing. Your steeper points that have the creek channel that runs up against them. Anywhere where they don't have to go horizontal, they can travel vertical. They can travel up and down and feed and then travel back down depending on where the bait fish are and stuff like that. They don't have to do a whole lot of just horizontal movement.
Inflate their bladders and move up and down, not
all
right, makes sense.
Exactly. So they don't have to expend a whole lot of energy, and that's why they gain so much weight in the winter is they're still feeding, and those steeper banks, those outside bends in the creek channel where they run up against the bank, or especially if they run up against a real long main lake point, they love it right there because that's the bait the bait's traveling in that current that's pushing up against that bank, and it just filters the bait and everything else right there. The crawfish are on that bank feeding on whatever it's drifting by, the same thing, and it's just like a daggum funnel that just pushes all the food right past them. So like on that lake in North Carolina, there was a bend right after one of our feeders out on the main part of the lake. And the feeder would go off and the feed would go out there and the bass wouldn't eat it because they weren't active. And it would sink down to the bottom and then it would just sit on the bottom and the current would push it and it would funnel into these spots right there on that outside bend of the creek channel about 50 yards down from that feeder. and I could sit there with a jig and just drag a jig right up along that edge of that drop and let it drop down, and it would just stop. And I'd pull tight, and it'd feel like it was stuck on like a piece of grass or something, and it was just a big old fish hanging onto that jig.
This place sounds magical, by the way. What do you said? What are you feeding these bass? What I mean, it's like spreading it out.
Purina produced a food on our lake that's now called Aquamax largemouth, but it was invented and developed on our lake. And this was when I say private, it was $1,000 a day per person to fish this lake.
Whoa! Oh my gosh!
It was for rich people. That's all it was. It had a private.
Is it still
No. It's now a wedding venue, but it was right in the middle of when the market crashed and everything back years ago when the housing market crashed, everything else. This is right when they were going, so it was hard to find clientele. But they had put millions of dollars into this lake to be able to make it the way it was, and it was known as the #1 bluegill lake in the world. Because with all that bass food and stuff going in the lake, our bluegill got to be an average of about
massive.
a pound and a half.
Enormous.
And one in 20 would be 2 pounds plus.
Oh my gosh.
So
we all need to rent out the wedding venue and just go fish it.
Yep. It was
$1,000 a day.
Like I said, I learned a lot. I just was soaking everything I could about bass and how they acted. They were F1 tiger bass that were feeder trained, so they had a Florida strain in them.
Okay.
And Seth, they acted just like Florida bass. Yeah. Even though it was in North Carolina, they acted just like Florida bass. They loved those sunny days. They loved blue. They loved black and blue. They loved, June bug. They weren't too fond of green pumpkin, but sometimes, it's just one of those things where it's just they were Florida bass. And it was pretty neat to figure that out. So if you're ever on a lake that has F1s or has Florida strain in them, they still like the same colors they do down in Florida. It's weird.
Whew. I wish I'm kind of sad, like a moment of silence that place is no longer in existence. Yeah. I wonder what the bass are like now. What would you say? How many? That was, my gosh, 20 years ago.
If they stop feeding them. If they stop feeding them, that means the bass ate every single bait fish that was in there, and it probably stunted their growth. And it's probably in very bad shape right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a big bummer, Gene. I'm really hoping you're saying those things are like double digits and stuff, but
no, because they slowed down the feeding. They slowed down the feeding once, and the shiners that were in there disappeared in about a month.
Fascinating.
And so, yep.
Big fat bass. I love it. Misconception. You kind of answered the first part. What's the biggest misconception do you think anglers have about bass in the winter? Or did you kind of answer it already?
I did kind of. I think the biggest misconception is they just don't think they feed in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I think that's an old tale from way back when we didn't have good electronics. So.
And to be honest with you, you have the lake to yourself up here in Ohio right now. My gosh.
Oh, here, Guntersville will be the same way on cold days, on those best days of fish. There's not going to be anybody there from here on out. I mean, not very many.
Yeah.
So, it's
a lot of people switch over to deer hunting, right?
And then everybody and their brother's going to be throwing an Alabama rig out in the middle of the freaking lake. So.
That is true.
I'm going to be dragging a jig.
This was interesting because unlike up here in Ohio, there were very distinct feeding windows on Lake Guntersville. I mean, I saw bait shad balls that had their own zip codes. They were so freaking big. And then there'd just be certain times. It was like there's the minor window and the major window. And I just remember like every day at like 1 o'clock, they went crazy. And maybe for a half hour, 45 minutes. I mean, you just look around and you're like, I see them all. And throw a jerk bait, throw an Alabama rig. I had one guy who's like, I caught like 60 fish on an Alabama rig in the last hour and a half. And then it just completely dies off. And so do you track feeding windows? How much stake do you put into those? Something I think I need to pay much more attention to. Some guys are like, I just go when I can go because that's when I can go.
I won that trophy right there paying attention to feeding windows in the summertime.
Okay.
So I put a lot of, and it was a feeding window that was not in the salooner feeding times that you see on Bass Forecast.
Breaks down the juice.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and the tournament, the video is out there somewhere on my YouTube channel. But we found them the last day of practice, the last 2 hours of practice, where this school had pulled up on a point, and me and Damon were pre-fishing together, and I started whacking them on a crankbait. I mean, one cast after another, and we had struggled the whole day. And so I had to basically put a lasso around Damon and get him to stop trying to catch the fish on pre-fishing, because they were just so much fun to fish. And then came back tournament day, and first in the app they showed up again, but an hour before the tournament was over, or an hour and a half before the tournament was over, they showed up again. I watched them this is when I first was learning how to use live scope. And I watched them pull up on this point, and I'm like, all right, they're there. And I just started catching them, casting out there, and I caught them. Second day of the tournament, I caught one fish in the morning, and I spent the whole day on the video saying, okay, I know they're going to show up. I know they're going to show up. And they showed up with 30 minutes left in the tournament. I caught all 5 of my fish in that 30 minutes. And
really?
That was it. Yep.
So you said that wasn't on the salooner typical minor major feeding windows.
Yep. And don't ask me why it was then they wanted to pull up. I have no clue. All I know is that, but it's still similar to the salooner. It was 50 minutes after, the day before it was here, and then 50 minutes later the next day, and 50 minutes later the next day.
Yeah. So here's a major tip. If you've never downloaded a deep dive app, or Omnia or whatever the app is, or Bass Forecast, you can get in there.
What I've always used. Yep.
Yeah, you can get in there and you can actually see when these minor and major feeding windows are. And if you have the ability to have flexibility in your schedule, whether maybe you're retired or you're out for a week, timing that to be out there during those windows might behoove you. You might be surprised with the increase in catch rate.
I'm a believer that you can't catch a fish unless your line is wet.
100%.
And so I fish all day, but I make sure I'm on the best stuff that I've found during that period of time.
There you go.
That's the biggest thing, is I make sure I'm either at the, and then I'll change up my baits a bit. I'll go to something I feel like, okay, this period of time they're going to be a little bit more active, so I'll change up to a moving bait or something that fishes a little bit faster. But between them, I'm dragging a jig or worm, flipping heavy cover. I'm just doing something a little bit different and quite a bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
If you have a question, go ahead.
I have never followed any of the feeding times ever, which is just not saying they're not accurate. I've just never really looked at it.
I thought they were a hill of beans until Chad forced me to figure it out.
Chad Hoover?
Yeah. And
so now I'm definitely not looking at that.
I wouldn't do it at all. But the biggest thing is just pay attention to when you catch your fish, and at the end of the day, go back and look at the salooner tables and see
if it matches up. It probably does match. It's just something I've never really. I just try to put myself around fish as much as I can throughout the day, because you can see them too. Like when you scope, you can see how they're reacting. Sometimes they react positively. Most times they don't. So that might correlate with those times. I've just never sat down and put it together,
So here's another one I want to freak you out with. Pay attention to what days of the month you catch your biggest bass.
In reference to what?
I can almost guarantee you, if you're fishing every day of the month, I'll guarantee you it's going to be the 2 days before the full moon.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. The majority of my giants, the ones I've caught, I've got a really good public lake right up the road that I catch, 20 to 23 inches on the regular. But the biggest ones come during that 2 day period, 2 days, the day or the day before, or 2 days before the full moon.
And you see that with the spawn too.
Yep.
Those full moon, you see huge waves coming up if the temperatures are right around that moon. Yeah.
And you can use it as a science experiment and tell your girl that you need to be out there every day to figure this out.
Yeah, I got to make money. I got to pay my mortgage.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep responsibility to yourself, Seth. We're talking fishing over here.
You were talking about finding excuses to go fishing.
Yeah, give you plenty. It's a full moon. Gene said 2 days before the full moon and 4 days before the full moon. And
Yep.
all right. Well, question for you, Gene. How important, when I say these words, kind of what goes flying through your mind, right? And we're talking water temps. You have surface temps, you have actual water temp below the surface. How important is stability? What is all flying through your mind whenever people start throwing around even what we talked about already, which is, water temps. And so I think people miss surface temp. What's the water temp? 5, 10, 15 feet. What's flying through your mind?
In the summertime or in the fall and the winter after the lake's turned over, I don't care. I just want to know where the bait fish are. And the water temperature is going to kind of help me figure that out a little bit. And now when in the summertime, when that water is stratified, when there is a thermocline in our lakes, at least, I want to know where that edge of that thermocline is. And that water temperature is going to be in the 70s. Just above that thermocline. I already know that. I mean, that's just the way things are. And so the bass are going to be somewhere around that area because it's holding the most oxygen. Unless there's grass and there's a whole bunch of other things. But anyway, so I don't pay much attention to it this time of the year. I want to know where the bait are. I want to know which direction the bait's moving. Are they moving towards the back of the creek or away from the back of the creek? And then I just try to find that cover and structure that I think the bass are going to be on.
There you go. So on the inverse, what makes you leave an area when you're fishing cold water? Like, what are some red flags that maybe you haven't talked about? Because I think what a lot of anglers would do is like, I'm just going to fish all day and I'm kind of committed to the spot and I'm just going to go. What makes you in the first 15 minutes be like, nope, I'm going to spend the extra time. I'm going to load up my kayak back to my truck and I'm going to go fish another spot because I know through the histories and years of experience that I have, this is not the spot.
Yep. It still boils down to bait fish.
That's it.
If I'm in an
You're
area
just
that has
straight up looking for bait fish.
That's all I'm looking for. That's what the fish are feeding on right now. That's as they're moving towards the backs of the creeks, and the bait fish are moving back there chasing the plankton. And the last place the plankton's going to be is in the backs of the creeks because that's where the fresh water. When I say creeks, I want water running into the back of the creek. I don't want one of these dead creek, dead pockets or anything like that unless it's been raining a lot. But the plankton's going to move towards the back until the water temperature gets below 50 or in that low 50s, and then they're going to start to move back out to safety, and they're going to be moving along the creek channels. And I'm not going to. The biggest thing about that, when the water gets below 50 or low 50s to 40s, the bait fish will all be tightly balled up in the middle of the creek channel. I don't want my boat in the middle of the creek channel on top of those fish, because you spook the bait fish, the bass are right up underneath them or really close to them, and they're going to be spooked as well. So I'm going to be off the side of the creek channel, casting 45-degree angles across that creek channel. I will probably be scoping. My favorite time to scope with a jerk bait and a spoon or something like that is going to be when it's dead cold. So luckily for me, I don't get ice on the water. So,
yeah,
but yeah, it's just. We do have a shad kill. When the shad kill is that when there's a big shad kill, I just go home. But our water has to
get basically falling in the mouth of the bass at that point.
Oh, I fished a tournament, one of my first kayak tournaments here in Rome, out on Rocky, which is where I fish all the time anyway. But I was throwing a jigging spoon. It was a blade bait, or whatever they call it, a gay blade, and throwing it down, letting it drop on the bottom, and 2 casts in a row brought up a freshly dead shad off the bottom.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, and they're this
Piled
big, and I'm like, this is the crap. This is what I'm competing with. I'm done. I packed it up. It was, water temperature was in the 30s, air temperature was in the 20s. I was freezing to death. I went and put it on the truck and I went home. It's like, I am not going to do any good in this tournament. And so those bass are laying on the bottom like this, just with their mouth open.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit. Let's go tactical a little bit. Let's talk about confidence lures. Let's get specific. You've talked about jigs. You've talked about blade baits. You've talked about chatterbaits a little bit. However, those are fairly general. So let's go, because, man, there's a gazillion types of chatterbaits out there. So if you're fishing flats in the eelgrass using a chatterbait, also, when we're out in the water and we were fishing around each other, I wouldn't say we're fishing together, you're like, it's all right, because no one fishes a chatterbait like I do. It's like, I'm going to have Gene Jensen on the podcast in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have to throw that back out there, see if he's willing to kind of share how he fishes the chatterbait. It's a little or a lot a bit different than everybody else. So that was a lot. Walk us through specific lures, and if you want to, share the juice on how you fish the chatterbait.
So the bait that I'm going to try to fish more than anything else is going to be a jig.
Okay.
And in the wintertime and in the cold water, everybody wants to downsize their jig. I have never seen a small crawfish in any of my traps in the wintertime. I used to trap crawfish all the time just to see what they look like. They've always been bigger crawfish. And I don't think a big bass is going to pass up a big crawfish. And I catch giants all winter long, dead stick in a jig, or throwing it out there, bringing it to that rock or that hard cover or that drop, and just letting it sit there. Now, should I? Yeah, trying to decide whether I want to tell you this.
You should. You should. 100%.
I use a trailer that's big but does not have a lot of action. So flat claw trailer, not something that kicks or anything else. I want it to just be limp, dragging on the bottom. The other thing I do is I use living rubber, long skirts, because that living rubber, and I'm not going to share how it's tied up or what I do to make it do all this, but it will move. It will move on its own a lot more than a silicone skirt will. In the current, even the lightest current, it'll sit there and move. Even though you're not touching your jig and you're not moving it, you're sitting it right there. It's still going to move and it's still going to get bit. So that's one of the things. A lot of people use small little hair jigs and stuff like that. I don't even try. I'm out there to catch the big girls that are getting fat in the wintertime. So
we almost got him to give up the juice, folks. He almost said what it was, except he went general. So we were close.
For the chatterbait.
See, he's still not biting.
Well, it's hard for me to explain it. I have to show people how I do it. They have to see me fishing it to kind of sort of understand how I do it. But I do all of my chatterbait fishing in high concentration, paying attention to what it's coming through and how I can feel it with a good rod. I can feel it when it's about to come up to a blade of grass or a piece of grass. And then I don't just rip it through. It's all in the wrist. So I'm pulling it and I feel it coming up to that grass and I go, whoop, and I just one quick turn with the handle and I let it die again. And I'm reeling it as slow as I can. I want to feel everything on the bottom, and then I feel it come up to another solid piece of grass, and thump, with my wrist is all I'm doing. It's just this. And it's as slow as I possibly can without losing vibration on the chatterbait.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best chatterbaits are, of course, the jackhammer and the new tungsten Evo. For some reason, that tungsten Evo gets started really, really at slow speeds. It will start vibrating a little bit slower than the regular Evo or any other. Yeah, about a little bit faster than the jackhammer.
I remember I remember Gene talking about that at Gunnersville for the knucklehead, I think, last year. He didn't go into specifics, but it was essentially not like a normal, slow, steady retrieve or anything. Like, I knew there were some nuances in it. And I've actually thought about Gene just about every time I throw a chatterbait about that conversation, because he did pretty well. And yeah, it was just a brief, it was like 30 seconds we were down there and you mentioned it. And I was like, just changed my perspective on throwing a chatterbait. So I've taken that with me this whole past year.
In your head, I want you to think about what a bait fish looks like as it's feeding on the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Not as it's swimming away or doing anything like that, as it's feeding on the grass. And you want that bait to come off of that grass and fall down right on the other side of it. And
Yeah.
that's what I kind of picture in my head. Well, at first that's what I was. Now I'm just focused on what that bait feels like and how it feels when it's about to come up and hit a piece of grass.
Mm-hmm.
And that just takes a lot of time doing it before you get that understanding of what it feels like. And I'm at that point where I don't have to think about it. It's all instinct now because I've done it so much.
Yeah, because most people just want to crank it, you know?
Yep.
Just run it.
Yep. Not me. I want them to and the funny thing is when I'm doing it and I'm doing it right, they always have it in the back of their throat.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with a chatterbait is if you're getting them if you're getting them to bite it all the way and you're getting them into the back of the throat, when they really, really want it, you will lose a ton of fish on the first jump.
Yeah.
How many, especially down in Florida, those Florida strain bass will get that chatterbait all the way in the back of their throat and they'll jump and open their mouth and that jig comes right back out. So to solve that problem, once you realize they're doing it, is when they bite, you do what I call a stutter hook set. So you pull it tight and you go boom, 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 and you set the hook 4 or 5 times, but not super hard. But what you're trying to do is just get them to open their mouth up just a little bit, because what's happening is they're clamping down on that blade, and that blade is preventing that bait from moving and moving at all. So you want them to open their mouth up just a little bit and just get the tip of that hook somewhere in their mouth. And then as they fight, it'll bury itself deeper and deeper. So
knowledge nuggets.
I learned that.
Nuggets, my friend.
I was fishing with John Cox when I learned that, because him and I were having the same issue fishing Bienville one day when I took him out fishing on Bienville, and we were struggling. We're like, what are they doing? So we were trying different hook sets, and I can't remember if it was him or me, but we started doing this, and it fixed it. And I was like, that all makes sense now. So
there you go.
He's decent too. He's a decent fisherman.
He's okay. He still doesn't know how to read a fish finder, but he's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So when we were talking about jig fishing, Tim Hunley said, "Hey, that was close. Keep him talking." Yak Bass said, "Somebody give him some alcohol." We were close. I feel like I feel everybody a podcast host. He gave us some juice, but not the specifics.
That's as close to alcohol as I get right there.
That's the I love it. I love it. All right.
So I make my own jigs, so it's not a brand. And so I've been making my own jigs for 25 years.
It's the Gene Jensen brand.
Yeah, one of these days I'll start selling them, but that means I got to stop doing anything else and start making the daggum things for everybody else.
It doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun to me. I'll be completely honest with you. Making baits. No, thank you. I'll let someone else do that.
Yep.
Well, if you had a question for Gene, we will get to that in just a moment. Got a couple more questions. Any other lures that make your winter arsenal? Now you talked a little bit about spoon.
I'll say a few of them. So, a minnow rig, so basically a Demiki rig. A flutter spoon, a jigging spoon, something to vertical fish form, and then a Ned rig or something small like that, and then of course a jig. That's my winter box is literally that big. It's all it is.
Tiny.
When the water gets down really cold, and a jerk bait, but I do that. I don't typically do that until spring, until it starts to warm up a little bit. Late January, early February is when I get really confident with a jerk bait. So, and for me, I think it has to do with the fact that I feel like they're feeding up more as that water starts to warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the dead of the winter, they tend to pick things off the bottom a little bit better.
Any specifics? You ripped through a bunch of lures there. Any like favorite brands, like your spoons, or like Cotton Cordell's, or the different type of spoons, or the Ned rigs?
I have 5 or it just all depends. I got 5 or 6 different. I don't like to make them any longer than 5 inches, but I don't fish the really tiny ones either. So 4 to 5 inch spoons.
Can I hold you up real quick, Gene?
Yeah.
So spoon fishing is something that I've seen the elite guys do. I think it was just on Okeechobee they were doing. I was kind of watching, kind of not watching. How do you fish them I know we can talk about cold water, but like, does it have to be a vertical presentation just because of the way they're built? Or like, how do you, like when you, let's just say if you're looking at it on scope, what should that jig be doing to attract, or not the jig, that spoon be doing to attract that bite?
So I have two different types of spoons. I have a flutter spoon. So those are the ones that are a little bit,
Yeah.
they're rounded and they're scooped out. And then I have a jigging spoon, which is flat and it's better a vertical presentation. So if I'm throwing it up into an area that's 12, 15 feet deep, and I want to stay away from the fish, I'm going to throw a flutter spoon. And that the biggest thing to understand is, well, first of all, the rod you're going to fish it on is a medium heavy fast or a medium heavy moderate. Something like, I like a medium heavy fast, a long medium heavy fast. I'm gonna have 15 to 17 pound test fluorocarbon, and I'm gonna throw it out. And you got to understand, when it's fluttering down, it's also fluttering away from you.
Okay.
So it's going back into the fish. And so I throw it out, I let it sink all the way to the bottom, I pop it up, and I drop my rod to a slack line, and I let it flutter back down. And typically they're going to bite it on its way down when it almost gets to the bottom. If they're on the bottom, if they're suspended up, of course, they're going to eat a little bit higher. But you're going to see your line snap, and you're going to feel it in that rod, even if that line is slack, because they hit it so hard. So that's the biggest thing, is just it's going to understand it's going to be going down and away from, and I just let it get off the bottom, and I pop it. I usually would give it 2 pops off the bottom and let it flutter on its own back down.
So it's kind of like a reaction bite. They see that almost like a bait fish falling, they come just smack it. Okay.
Yep.
And when how close do you, I mean, obviously it's based on visibility in the water, but when you're looking at them, I'm sure you've done it on scope.
Yep.
When it drops down, do they ever follow it down, and then as soon as you pick it up, they hit it? Like when you pop it, or how does that?
Typically, if they follow it down, they're going to hit it when they get to the bottom.
Okay.
And they're going to hit it on the bottom. I don't think I've caught maybe one out of several hundred that hit it on the way up.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So most of it's cold water fishing stuff's amazing.
Down, okay.
Yep.
Good to know.
Whole new world for you, Seth.
Yeah, well, I've seen it. It's just not something that's in my arsenal. So like that's maybe the next thing that I start working on. But like, what's your favorite flutter spoon?
Oh gosh, Nichols makes some good ones. There's one brand that they sell at Bass Pro that Jim Ware fishes, and I've got several of them, and I can't remember what the names of them are. But just as long as they have a good hook is the biggest thing. But the nickel spoon, and then I've got a video that I shot in the fall several years ago, where I was actually out testing some baits for 13. The crankbaits that they came out with. I was testing the prototypes, and I went across this school that was on this 12-foot flat, and I just saw one fish and then another fish, and they were really scattered quite a bit. And I said, those are bass. I said, let me go finish what I'm doing. And I went and tested, depths and things like that on the crankbaits. Yeah. And I turned around and I made one cast to that area, let it flutter down, and just started whacking them every cast. I turned the camera on, and I did a real quick video on how to fish a flutter spoon. But it was pretty special. And I fish that lake all the time, and I've never seen that since. It was just that one day they were set up perfect for a flutter spoon.
I'm always looking for anything. I'll use it down here in Florida. I'll use it.
I would too. When they got offshore like they are right now, and pre-spawn, I bet you a freaking flutter spoon would kill it.
Anything that, especially because when I can see them, and I've thrown other things, they're not working. So like anything that you can throw that's kind of different than what they're seeing, or you can get a reaction bite or something out of them that could be effective. So,
and you want a wide flutter spoon for down there, because you're still fishing fairly shallow water.
Right. So a slower fall rate.
Fall rate. And also know that when it's doing this, it's going to feel like a bite until you figure out what that bite is.
Get used to it. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Cool.
Couple questions to land this plane, Gene. And really quick, we're going back and forth between 55 and 60 live right now. If you have not yet done so, hit that like button, help us get a little yardage after the fun is done. How important are sounds and rattles in cold water for you?
I've done really, really well with rattles on jigs, and But my thought with rattles on jigs is it's better to have it than not. So it never hurts to have it.
Okay.
And
Good to
so
know.
I keep a good supply of rattles and rattle bands in my box just for that reason.
I like it. And what do scents matter? Because I know you use scents. Do scents you think matter more in cold water when bass have a tendency not necessarily just to smash it, but maybe come up and check it out?
Yes. Yeah. Especially, I think it's really important because it helps to keep it, for them, because you're not going to feel every bite, especially when they get super cold. And so you want them to be able to keep it in their mouth whether it tastes like food or not to them, I think any scent that covers up your human scent is going to be good. Or anything else that you might have gotten on that bait.
Except bug spray. Do bug spray.
Yeah, no bug spray, no gasoline.
Yeah.
No, you'd be surprised.
Stuff, so.
I have a personal question for you coming in here, Gene, from Michael Bradley. He's asking, does Gene do anything non-fishing related to pass the time other than Bulldogs football?
Yes, I do way too much is the reason I haven't done a whole lot of videos lately. Way too much. I have a 7-acre farm. I have 100-foot by 50-foot garden. I have 4 beehives. I check my bees every day.
That sounds like a life I would like to live right there so far.
Yeah, I have 20.
You're a homesteader, Gene.
I have 20 chickens. I've just always gardened my whole life. That's actually my passion. I love to fish, and fishing is great. But my passion always has been putting seeds in the ground and watching what happens. And I've gotten really good at it. I mean, I started gardening with my dad when I was 3, as long as I can remember. And so I grew 75 tomato plants this last year, and I've got enough tomatoes in that closet right there for 2 years worth of, or tomato sauce canned for 2 years worth of pasta and pizza and everything else that my kids love to eat.
Are you a prepper, Gene?
No, well, no. I've been doing emergency disaster relief since I was 15 years old. And I remember one disaster was a tornado in Alabama that I went and helped clean up the neighborhood. And it was the next day, and there was a dad walking around his house, and he was completely lost. And I was probably 19 or 20 at the time. He was completely lost and had no clue what to do and had no resources or anything else. And I was helping him, and I was doing everything I could to help him, but I made it the decision that day that I would never be like him. So I don't prep for a zombie apocalypse. I don't prep for anything else, but to be able to take care of my family if anything ever happened, weather-wise or anything else. And so that's kind of how I do it. And I love to watch things grow, and I love to take care of things. That's why I have a garden and chickens and bees and stuff like that. So
I feel like you could have
which is funny.
You could have a homesteader channel.
Yeah.
With all that stuff.
I've been trying to talk my wife into letting me do that for a while. And she's like, well, you're already started fishing. So I haven't gotten the okay yet. I may just go ahead and start doing it. But I'll show all the wrong ways to do things as I learn them.
There you go.
But
there you go.
But yeah, bees are a 2-year-old venture for me. I'm still learning things every day. So I had to combine a hive day before yesterday or Saturday because I lost a queen in one of my hives. So I had to quickly, try to combine them without having them kill each other. So it's a little bit of a challenge.
There's this place I drive by probably 2-3 times a week, and all the boxes are next to the road. And I'm not kidding you. There may be 100 bee boxes.
Yep.
Why are they brightly colored painted?
They're
like a neon bee party.
Are they all the same color or are they different?
They're roughly all like a palette of Easter eggs. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, and so your bees, they hatch, and after they hatch, they come out and they fly and they orient themselves to the front of the hive, and you want each hive to look somewhat different than the ones that are directly around them, so the bees can always find that hive. I have 3 hives right now. I had 4 Saturday. I now have 3. and so there's just a lot to it. The biggest thing is our honeybees are in such danger of becoming extinct, because of pests and things that have been introduced over the last several hundred years that are just killing them.
Yeah.
That we have to take a lot more care of them now than we ever have. And if we lose our bees, the life will end as we know it, because they pollinate everything. And so, they pollinate what we eat. And so that's kind of, I do it because I love the honey. I grew up on wildflower honey. My brother-in-law, who's been my brother-in-law since I was 5 or 6,
Okay.
because I would eat. He was a beekeeper then, and he's got over 90 hives now. So I grew up on his honey, and I love wildflower honey. So I just produce my own is all I do. So
I like it.
yeah.
Well, Gene, what can listeners, those who follow, love you, what does we're getting close to 2026, right? This is a lot of times kind of the down season for fishing consumption. So there's a lot of planning happening, and I'm sure you've been bouncing around the back of your head. What is 2026 going to look like for the Flukemaster? So anything bouncing around, maybe concrete, maybe not concrete? What's going through your mind?
So I'm focusing a lot on what YouTube wants me to focus on, which is going to be a lot of shorts. My long form is going to be planned to where I can break it up into more understandable shorts, so you're not left wondering at the end of the short what the hell I was talking about. And then I'm going to be focusing a lot on TikTok, because TikTok is where the money is right now. And trying to get things going with that a little bit better. I'm at that point now where I can be monetized. I just have to do the content. I spent the last 3.5 months not shooting content because I was learning how to best to use AI.
Yep.
And so I'm still not going to use it to produce or to edit videos. I might use a little bit of what the program that my son is using, just to clean things up and stuff like that, but never, I'm trying to try not to use anything that's going to fake it or, that kind of stuff. I hate that kind of stuff, but mainly for planning, research, things like that. I'm learning how to use AI to my advantage, just to speed things up a bit, because I want to produce a ton of content in 2026, more than I ever have. And
Come on.
which means I'm going to have to do all the editing myself. I'm going to have to go back into that little hole of mine where I'm just, nobody else can bother me, leave me alone, drive everybody else in my life nuts as I do that. And which means that I probably won't have a garden this next year. I probably won't fish a lot of tournaments. I'll run TKS and I'll do what I do, And so, and then the other project on top of that is Michael and I are trying to start a new channel that we've got the LLC, and we've kind of created the channel a little bit, but it's not live yet. But we're going to try to start a little travel vlogging, kind of a fun little thing as we travel around, that we make content called Dad Bods and Fishing Rods. And so just where we
just hit the subscribe button in my head.
Yeah, we're just going to do fun things, as we travel, and try to go to these really cool fishing destinations that don't get a lot of play because their bodies of water aren't big enough to hold a tournament, or just, these great places to fish that are a little out of the way, or people have never heard of because they're not tournament waters. And so one of the things I want to do, what Michael wants to do, is he wants to do like gas station food reviews, where he does a little food review, he goes into a gas station. And I kind of played off of that. It's like, dude, I'd like to do gas station bathroom reviews.
Oh boy.
I think those would be hilarious.
I went to a bathroom once where they said don't push the button, and you push the button, the lights went off, a disco ball was shining, and there's like disco music came on. You ever been to that one? It's like a chain, I think.
I'm gonna hunt for
it
that.
Says don't push this button, and then when you do, it's like a party in the bathroom. It's so bizarre. It was on the way down to Gunnersville 2 years ago, and I did a short on it. Probably still out there in the universe. My gosh, so good.
That's hilarious.
Well, folks, I'm looking forward to that, Gene. I'm excited for you.
And it's not 100% yet, because I got to get him away from a lot of tournaments in order to be able to do the kind of stuff that we want to do, because he gets so focused on tournaments that we don't get it done. And so it may or may not happen, but that's the plan anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Seth, you got any questions?
That was the spoon question. I'm glad you
There it
wanted
is.
to. No, man, I don't really fish a whole lot of cold water right now. Most of the kayak events are, warmer. There's some in the fall, but
Yep.
nothing like over the winter in the northern areas. So until I start fishing some Bassmaster Opens or something, I'm just going to be chilling down here in the wintertime, catching bass all year. All winter, I should say.
You gonna fish any of the you gonna fish the one that the Bassmaster kayak one that's coming down there?
On the Kissimmee chain? Yeah, I'll fish that one. I'm going to fish. So this past year, I fished the Kissimmee one, and I had a DQ'd fish. I'll make it quick. Had a DQ'd fish. I was in like the 50th, 60th. So it was on the second day. It was a duplicate. So I didn't even upload another one because that was going to be my only event I fished all year. Well, I ended up going to Dale Hollow and getting second. And I'm like, well, I'll fish one more. I'll go out to Toledo Bend. I ended up getting fifth. And had I just entered a 10th fish on Kissimmee, I probably would have. Well, I would have. I did the math. I would have won Angler of the Year. So I was like, dang, that was a painful, it doesn't matter situation. So I think this year I'm going to fish at least 3 to see where I can stand. And, the second year kind of running them and see if we can do it AOI, maybe go to the Susquehanna on the 4th event. But we'll see how it goes. So, but yeah, I'm going to try to also fish the team event down here and some other ones.
How much does that cost you?
I don't know. What Abby win, like $6,000 or something? And Bassmaster articles and sponsors and everything. Don't worry about it.
$6,000 fish.
I don't think that lake, the lake that everybody fishes when they go down, I don't think it's going to be on the list this year.
Yeah, there's been some discussion on that. There's one for people that are listening in. There's one small lake on the chain that last year just went off, and everyone that was on it did exceptionally well. You were on it. I wasn't on it. So
I was on it all week. I didn't even look at any of the other lakes.
Yeah, for me, I like it when most people on the same type of body of water that's kind of connected. So the Elite Series, it's 4 main lakes that are all kind of connected through canals. So I would like that if they just stayed with the 4 main ones and not all the small surrounding ones that can just pop off in the spring. So I'd be happy with that. It is what it is. If they keep it on this year, it's going to be absolutely packed there. So maybe it'll open up opportunities elsewhere. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. You coming down?
It just depends. It depends on schedule and money. But I haven't decided yet. I definitely go down there for fun in January. I usually go mid-January all the way till I have to be home February 11th because that's my anniversary. And so.
Nice.
And I just kind of, there's a few free campsites that I'll stay at, and I'll fish Kenansville and mostly Kenansville. I love Kenansville. That's my favorite lake.
There's some big fish in there, man.
I've caught some giants, that's for sure. But yeah, I hope they do take that lake out, because I really think it would make things better if they were to take that lake out. I'm not going to say it, but I know exactly where I'd be fishing. It's in the second.
Just say it. No one knows.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Darren, we got to get Darren down here sometime and catch his PB. He's at
That's my PB.
What's your PB
go down
right
there
now?
for a week. It's in Ohio 7.
Ohio, yeah. Come down here and catch a Florida 10.
I know. I just got to come down there for a week. I guarantee you, I could catch my PB. I just need to get down there and do it.
Yep. You can come down to my home, my little public lake right down the road, and we'll catch you a 7 in about a day.
Ooh, I can go to Seth's backyard and catch a 10.
That doesn't count.
HOA bass.
HOA bass.
I love it. Well, folks, thank you so much, Gene. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the knowledge you were willing to share with everyone. Good time. Special thanks to our show sponsor, Dark Horse Tackle. If you have never been to their website, do yourself a favor and check them out at darkhorsetackle.com. Next week, I don't have a guest slated yet, but I got a few feelers out there. In the following week, we actually have Wyatt Hammond on, absolute hammer. So look forward to picking his brain just like we did Gene Jensen's. Wyatt actually won the KBF Nationals and all kinds of other stuff. Again, yeah. So guy knows something, and I look forward to just picking it all apart. So come ready with some questions. But folks, Hope you have a safe and a wonderful time on the water this week. Appreciate you listening to the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. See you next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. See you. Thanks, guys.
Bye now.